Welcome back to another video. This one is going to be on lathe exercise 4. So nothing new on here. Obviously this is all the exercises are obviously reviews of what the tutorials have already went over. We're going to draw this one similarly to the way that we drew the last one. And one thing we're going to note is that these are smaller radii, so we're going to see if we can do these with our finishing tool, but we may not be able to. We might not have the clearance that we need, so we may need to pick a different tool to do that. We'll address that when we come to it. All right, so let's get started. Again, I'm going to start this one from the back and draw forward, just because it just makes it a little bit easier when you do it like that. It's not as difficult to just do the math, in other words. So let me just find my page here, and here we are. All right, I actually did have my drawing up in front of me. Okay, so let's start from the back here, and of course I'm going to start by going to lathe, default, and planes DZ equals wireframe. Alright, and let's draw our line. Okay, so our first line is going to be at 1.375, comma, 0, enter. Next line is going to be at 1.375, comma, 2.25. Next line is going to be at 0.375, comma, 2.5. Oh, looks like I made a mistake there. Yep, I did make a mistake there. So let's go and undo that one. And let's continue where we were. Okay, so the next one is going to be at 0.375, comma, 2.25. Okay, next one is going to be at 0.375, comma, 2.5. Enter. And it looks like we have a 5/8 11 thread, so I'm going to go up to 0.625, comma, 2.5. And next I'm going to go to 0.625, comma, 3.25. Enter. And that is the end of our part. I'm just going to go to 0, comma, 3.25 to end our part. And hit check. All right, and there we go. So for the most part, it's pretty much drawn. All we need to do is put our little arcs in there, which we know the center points of. So I'm actually just going to create a circle for this. And my radius looks like it's 0.625 for the first one, with a center point of, and remember, on my drawing here, it's saying that it's 1.25. Remember, I have to double that because I am working in diameter now. So diameter would be over the whole distance. So I need 2.25 for that. All right, so we're going to make it 2.25, comma, 0.5. Enter. And then our next one, we're going to check. And our next one is a 1/2 inch radius. And that one is going to be at, that's also going to be at 2.25, comma, 1.75. All right, and that looks good. Okay, so now we're just going to trim these up a little bit. And we've got what we need. And then last but not least, I just need to put some chamfers on there. It looks like there are 62 thousandths chamfers. I'm already set to 62 thousandths, so I can just add them and hit check. And that is our finished part. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to start off, of course, as I almost forgot to last time, by transforming this whole thing to 0. So I'm going to transform that back, and now I can work on it. All right, so let's go to turning, and let's start by, well, actually, better set our stock up first. Properties. Okay, our part is 3.25 long. And our margins, everything is good there. And our from stock, and hit check. And we just need to change our stock plane to DZ and hit check. Alright, now everything should be just fine. Okay, so let's first start by facing. And pick my facing tool right here. And I know everything's right with my face because I already set those operation defaults. Again, if you haven't watched the defaults video, watch that video. It makes your life a lot easier. You don't have to click on everything. Once you got it set, you know it's good. Less chances of losing points repetitively on exercises. If you set them right there, then you don't have to worry about going back and checking them. A lot less time involved. Those operation defaults are a lifesaver when you get out in the field. Okay, so let's go to rough. Alright, so we're going to rough this guy. I got to reverse that. To reverse this, I can just hit R and it'll reverse it. I could also hit this button here, which you should already be aware of. And hit check. Okay, got my tool. Everything there should be set. And that looks good. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to groove this groove out. So I'm going to take this groove out and I'm just going to pick my groove. And I'm going to use my chain because I like to use the chain. Actually, you know what? I'm going to demonstrate to 3. Let me hit escape here. I'm actually going to demonstrate the 3 lines. Since I did it by chain last time, I'm going to do the 3 lines. I'm going to reverse that. Oops, did I select chain again? Check. Chain. Okay, so it's just asking me to chain the rectangle. So I'm just going to hit that, enter. Less than 3 lines chained. Oh, I know why that is. Okay, let's try that again. So I need to do single because I was accidentally using a partial. That's my fault. Okay, there's 1. 2. Less than 3 lines chained again. Let me try this again. 3 lines. Check. Sides. Okay, so this is what I wanted you to see. So I was having trouble there because I was selecting them. I wasn't selecting it as all one path. So you have to select it as all one path. Sides of a rectangle must be the same length. So I cannot use 3 lines on this. I was mistaken in the other video. They all have to be the same length for that. So you do have to use a chain for this. So I'm going to go back in and I'm again going to select the chain. The 2 points is what you can actually use. So if I hit check, I can actually select here to here, and that will be okay. And I hit enter. Now, what I couldn't do is I wouldn't be able to do it from here or from like here to here. I have to get all of this, and I'll demonstrate that here in a second. Let's get my grooving tool. Okay. Shape. Use stock as outer boundary. We went through all of this. All this stuff is good. I don't really want to change anything in here. I don't believe. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. That looks good. My finish pass. This looks good. I usually do a little bit of an overlap of 20 thousandths. Everything else there I'm okay with. So I'm going to hit check. And it's going to make my groove for me. Now, let's just hypothetically say I changed my geometry and I did 2 points. And I did it from here to here. And hit enter. And regenerate that. That could potentially cause a problem. So I need to be careful with that. Let me actually escape. Let me regenerate that so you can see. Oops. Let's see here. Check. And let me go back to this one. Enter. and regenerate that. Notice where my feed lines start. My blue feed lines are starting up here, right? They're starting up here to make sure that I'm not crashing into this material. When I selected here and here, they actually start down here further. So you want to make sure you have this whole groove included in there. So that's kind of important. Okay, so we got our groove in there. Let's do our finish pass. So let's come and do finish. And we're going to select here to here and hit enter. All right, we are going to pick 35 degrees and I'm gonna hit check. Okay. All right, so everything there looks good. Check. And it does my finish pass. Oh, look at that. We forgot to rough these out. We gotta rough those out. Okay. All right, so again, the way that we do this, you can just drag this up to here and it will insert anything in there. Now, let's say I forget to do that. I wanted to demonstrate this, which is why I did this out of order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a rough, and I'm going to rough both of these. So I'm going to do a select, I'm going to hit end, end. Okay, and hit check. Now let's see if we can do these both all in one operation. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to select this tool, and we're using that profile tool. We're going to use 0.025 step over, and we are going to use plunge parameters, and we're going to hit check. Okay, so notice it only did the one. So that's a problem. So you can't add them both at once. I know that a lot of students try to do this. It will only take one in a roughing cycle. So let's go back in there and let's edit this one out. Let's just delete that one. So we're only going to use this one. Now we still need to go back in there. We need to edit a couple things. We know that our lead-in's wrong because that was wrong on the last one. So our lead-in's going to be like this. I'm also going to extend that. And I'm going to make that 0.145 just to match the lead out. And that lead out looks good. Lead in looks good. All right, so let's hit OK. And let's also do remaining stock. If you did notice, it grayed this out when we had two features. So now that we have one feature, we should be fine. Okay, let's hit check. And that looks good. Okay, I can live with that. Okay, so now we have to do another one. And I'm just going to do this. When you do this and it says select last entry, if you don't pick single and you accidentally hit partial, you can just hit the E button for end. When I hit the E, that ends it, and it's basically saying that's it. So it selected that. Okay, so hit tool, my parameters, they should already be set, remaining stock, and hit check. Oh, what did we forget? We forgot our lead in again. Okay, so let's go back into that. And let's go to lead in. And let's extend that 0.145, and let's change our lead into that direction. Lead out still looks good. And let's try that again. Okay, much better. All right, now, if you notice, seems to be a problem here, right? This doesn't quite look right. So I'm going to go in here and take a look and see what might be the problem. I have a suspicion that, okay, so I've extended it, 0.15. I've extended it, so that's not the issue. Well, what that tells me is that the issue is my tool. It's not actually cutting it correctly. I don't have enough clearance on this side of the tool to cut these arcs. So that means I need to change the tool that I use. And this one here is not correct either, for the record. That one there's an issue with. Okay, so let's take a look at what we can do about that. All right, so let's go into Lathe Rough 1, and let's see if we can select a better tool for this. All right, well, I know for sure that this button tool will definitely do the job because it has clearance pretty much all the way around it. But I don't want to use that just yet. I've not resigned myself to using that just quite yet. Let's see here. We could use a grooving tool, but the problem is we'd end up with a flat. We can never get this true radius. We end up with a little flat at the bottom of this radius because of the width of the grooving tool. That causes a problem. So what if I went in and I took a tool and I modified one? Let's say I go in and I change this. And let's go to the holder. Okay, so this holder is a little interesting. Let's take a look and see what kind of style holders we have. Oh, these are getting more and more. Oh, well, now that looks promising, to say the least. Just basically the difference between these is just side clearance. Really, it doesn't make much of a difference which one you use. So let's give this one a try. Yeah, let's give this one a try. Okay, so let's go into inserts, and of course we want that 35-degree diamond, so this looks good, and I'm going to hit check. Okay, so now it has changed my tool. So I'm going to select that one and hit check, and let's see what that does for us. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Now we still have an issue with this one here. It looks like it's not extending my chain properly. So let me go in and rechain all. And let me just pick a single and see how that does. And hit check. And then let me go into my lead in, lead out. And let's see what we can do about this. Extend this 0.2. 0.2. And hit check. Check. Regenerate that. Alright. Notice my lead in is a little goofy here, and it still doesn't seem to be going the whole way up, which is a bit of an issue, right? So we're ending up with a problem there. So let's go in and take a look at my lead in first off. So my lead in is coming in at this direction. Well, that's an issue. We actually want it to come in at this direction. So that's our first problem. So let's clean that up. Okay, so that's a little better. But again, we still don't have an overcut there. It's not extending our boundary for some reason. So what I'm going to do when I run into this, and this is another reason why I always do these in real time, because I like to run into these kinds of problems, because these are the things that you're going to run into when you're doing it. I'm actually going to delete both of these. Yes. And yes. And we're going to try doing it again. The roughing pass may not allow us to do this. Hit check. I'm going to select our tool. And our lead in, we're going to extend that contour. 0.2. Extend it 0.2. Our lead in is going to be this direction, and I'm going to hit check. And plunge parameters, of course, need to be on. I'm actually going to make this plunge on as well. I think that's where our problem is. So it's distinguishing where the difference is between wall plunge and X plunge. So let's take a look with it off quick and just see what the difference is. Remaining stock. And Okay, so I forgot to put my 0.25. 0.25. Okay, check. And let's regen that. Okay, so once again, it's doing that same thing, right? I think it's distinguishing this once it gets past a certain angle as face plunging. So we're going to turn both plungings on. So we're going to make this plunge wall and X, so Z and X. And we're going to regenerate that. And that didn't fix it, so that doesn't seem to be the problem. Okay, so let's see what we can do about getting this to work if we try a finish pass. End, check. I'm going to use this one. And let's do 2 at a 0.025. Stock to leave 0.01. Actually, we're going to leave 0 in here. We're going to finish these. And plunge parameters, we're going to turn them both on. Actually, this back clearance seems to be the problem to me. I think it's still going to do the same thing. I think that's what the issue is. I forgot to change that. Not extend that much. 0.2. Lead in. 0.2. And change the direction. Check. Check. Okay, so there we get it to work. So the back clearance really didn't make much of a difference there. Now, keep in mind, this is not actually the way that it's going to cut it. This is just showing the path. It's the center line of the tool based on the cutter comp. So it's not actually going to cut into your part there. I know it doesn't look like they line up perfectly. So let's come back in here and let's just change one thing. Let's go in and change this 0.2 to a 0.05. 0.05. All right, and watch what happens if I take the wear off. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna put my wear back on. It didn't really show the difference that I wanted it to show. Okay, so that's going to cut that one out. And now let's try the next one. Let's do a finish to this one. And let's hit check. Select this. And we're going to take 4 passes for this one. And we're going to have wear on, plunge parameters. We want them both on, yep. And lead in, lead out, we need to change that one. And extend it 0.05, 0.05, and check. Check. Okay, and there we go. All right, so now that we have that finished, we are going to finish the part. And I do not need to do any plunging here because I have everything finished that needs to be finished in these inside corners. So I'm just going to select my finish tool. I'm going to turn my plunge off if it is on. And I am going to hit check. And it's going to finish my part. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down with a threading tool. And I'm going to thread this part. Alright, so we're going to use an OD thread right hand. Thread parameters, it looks like we're putting a 5/8 on there. So let's select that from the table. 5/8. It has all of our parameters put in there for us. Our end position, we have to check that. Okay, 0 is correct. Everything there looks pretty good. And the only thing I'm going to do is my overcut of 0.1. And that looks good. I'm going to hit check. And let's cut this part off finally. I'm going to use this, and the cut off should be fine. Check. And let's regenerate and play. Now, there's one thing that I noticed that may be a problem there, and that is, so these all look good. Looks like I'm cutting this just fine. The thing that I noticed is it's taking quite a cut on the first plunge. So if I look at this, oops, not front, top. So it's taking all of this material on that first cut. So I'm going to put a couple more cuts in there. And this is an example of where I can actually do a zigzag. So, oops, that's the thread. Finish. Okay, so this one here, oh, that's right, I'm using this, so I can't actually do the zigzag. It's only going to do one-way cutting for this, unfortunately, because I'm not using a rough. But what I can do is I can change this to 6, and let's see if that gives us a little bit better result. And hit regenerate. Oh, whoops. That was the wrong one. That was our finish pass for the OD. This is the one that we want to change. This one we're going to change to 6. Hit check. And let's regenerate that. That's a little better. I think I'm going to add one more though, just to be safe. That's the one. Lathe groove, lathe rough. Let's finish. Where are we at here? There's our finish. This is the one right here. So we're going to make this 7. And I'm going to hit check and regenerate. There we go. I can live with that. Okay, let's run that and see what we get. So I would say it looks pretty good. We got our chamfer on the back. It's cut off. Everything looks like it is perfect. All right, well, that is all I have for this lesson. If you have questions, feel free to email me, or obviously the best option is to come see me either in office hours or in class, and I can answer any questions that you have.